The Whaley House, located in what is known as Old Town San Diego, has been described as being a classic example of mid-19th century Greek Revival architecture. Today, the house built by Thomas Whaley is a museum and is set up like it was during the years of 1856, when construction began on the house, to 1885, when Thomas Whaley moved his family to another home. The history of the Whaley House began when the property that the house was built upon was an undeveloped piece of property that was used as an execution yard, conveniently located near the town cemetery. In 1852, this vacant lot was used to hang a convicted criminal, attended by the townspeople including Thomas Whaley, who noticed the possibilities of this vacant lot. In 1852, a tall man known as Yankee Jim had been convicted for stealing a boat, although he and two other men were suspected of the more serious crime of murder. While Jim's two other partners in crime were given sentences of a year in prison, Jim was given the death penalty, probably because he was seen as the leader of the group. This small gang probably killed some people, though there was not enough evidence to convict them. To today's observer, he was executed for a minor crime of trying to steal a boat. Right or wrong, Yankee Jim was brought in the back of a buckboard, and a noose that was hanging from a tree that grew on this vacant property was put around his neck. He was pushed off the buckboard, but there was a problem that was ignored. Because of his height, believed to be 6 feet 4 inches tall, the toes of his boots touched the ground, but not enough to support his weight. As there was no hard fall and because he was hung too low without the proper force to snap his neck, he instead suffered a terrible, painful, and slow choking death, a cruel way to die. While watching Yankee Jim's cruel demise, entrepreneur Thomas Whaley had the idea that he could buy this piece of property at some point when he had the funds, as no one would want to buy land used for executions. He did not see the problems that may arise if he did this. His inspirational thought was to build a one-story brick structure, to be a rat-proof granary, that would be in great demand. 3 years later, in 1855, Thomas Whaley bought the property and built his rat-proof granary using the bricks from his own brick factory in town. When the one-story brick structure granary failed to be rat-proof, Whaley came up with another idea. In August of 1857, he renovated the granary into a commercial space for his own general store. At that time, it was a common practice to have commercial space on the first floor of the structure and have the family live in private rooms on the second floor. Thomas expanded upon this original brick structure, building a second story over part of it for his family. He used bricks from his own brickyard for the second story addition. The family loved their new spacious home. Thomas declared that it was the most comfortable and convenient place in Old Town San Diego. By today's standards, it wasn't grand, but it was considered upscale for his community. By 1857, Thomas and his wife Anna had 3 children, Francis, Thomas, and baby Anna. Unfortunately, after being in their new home for only a short time, both a personal and a financial disaster hit this family in 1858. Not only did Thomas's store on the plaza get burned out by an arson fire, but his 18-month-old son, Thomas, died of scarlet fever. Depressed and saddened by these tragic events, Thomas and Anna moved their family back to San Francisco, where they still had a home on the San Francisco Bay. They rented out their beloved San Diego brick home. The first floor was a commercial space while the rooms upstairs were rented out to boarders. In August of 1869, the County of San Diego signed a 2-year lease to use the front first-floor commercial space as their county courthouse and used 3 of the rooms upstairs for storage of court records in the Whaley House for $65 a month, which was a great financial asset to the Whaley family. Finally, a stable source of income was established, no longer having boarders, but a relatively safe source of steady cash flow. However, in July of 1870, the people in Newtown, San Diego voted to move the San Diego County Courthouse over to Horton Hall in Newtown, San Diego, to make it more convenient for them, despite the first decision made by the city with Thomas Whaley. The officials further made plans to make Horton Hall the place for the new San Diego County Courthouse home. This would have been fine if the city had waited until the lease was up in 1871. Unfortunately, the county of San Diego did not honor their lease, something no city can get away with now. In April of 1871, the sheriff along with some other new townspeople ransacked the Whaley house and terrified the Whaley family when Thomas was out of town. They then forcibly moved the court furniture and court papers from the Whaley house, and notified Thomas that once the furniture and papers were removed, the county of San Diego did not owe Whaley the rest of the rent money for the year despite the written, legal agreement. These events left the Whaley family on a tight budget. Thomas had planned to use the money for a lifeline until the end of the lease in 1871. In 1882, daughters Anna and Violet were both married. One marriage, Anna's, was very happy. Anna married the love of her life, cousin John, son of Francis Whaley. Unfortunately, the other marriage, Violet's, turned out to be a disaster. Violet, who had struggled with emotional issues her whole life, married a man who called himself George Bertolacci when he married her. After 2 weeks of marriage, George deserted Violet, causing terrible humiliation. Violet had a broken heart, and this huge mistake pushed her fragile, emotional state into a deep depression. Despite the best efforts of the family doctor, Violet shot herself in August of 1885. Thomas found her and carried her into the parlor couch where she died in his arms. Her suicide shook her parents to the core. It was time to move again, away from their beloved home, once again being too upset to stay. Moving forward again, Thomas built a one-story single-frame house for his family in Newtown, San Diego, where they moved to and lived as a family again. However, in 1888, Thomas retired because of health issues. His son, Francis, took over his business, which must have given Thomas some peace. Thomas died in his new home in 1890. The Whaley house then became the property of Francis Whaley, but stood vacant for nearly 20 years, as everyone wanted to live in Newtown, San Diego. Perhaps the Whaley family members were leery of living in a house that had experienced so much bad luck as well as a suicide event. There was the possibility that perhaps the house had some sort of curse on it because of the land's former use as a place of execution and death. However, in 1909, Francis came back once again to the family home where he started and finished a restoration that greatly enhanced the Whaley house's state of being, from being a fixer-upper opportunity that really needed attention to a home he could live in himself. In 1912, Francis got more company to live with him, the rest of his family, except for his younger sister Anna, who had died in 1905. His mother, Anna, his youngest sister Lily and Corinne, and his brother George enjoyed living here together for only a year. Mother Anna died in the house in February of 1913. Francis died in the house in November of 1914. After almost staying in the house for 16 years, George died in the home in 1928, leaving Lillian living there alone until 1953, when she suffered from a bad fall and a growing case of dementia. Under a court order, the Whaley house was put under a liquidation order to provide funds for her care. A month later, she died. The county of San Diego took ownership of this historic home and started the stabilizing and restoration process, in partnership with the Historic Shrine Foundation, who led the way. The house was restored to its 1918 status, with the renovations that Francis had done. The Whaley house opened for public tours in 1960. Because of the restoration and the Whaley house's history, it is no wonder that the spirits of the members of the Whaley family, and others as well, have chosen to stay here. Some of the spirits now enjoy what they feel they missed, continue to comfort family members, relive their good memories, while others mourn or agitate about their death or misfortune suffered because of unfortunate circumstances, unrequited love, or the legal system. They have even found ways to still be active in this world. Children who die from accidents or from health issues like to stay where they felt comfortable and enjoyed life, perhaps even where they died. A small neighbor girl, Annabelle Washburn, ran into the clothesline, got the line caught around her throat and was strangling. She was rescued, but it was too late. She was brought into the kitchen, barely alive, where she died. Also, 18-month-old Thomas died of scarlet fever in his parents' bedroom. People who die prematurely or have been relocated for a variety of reasons from their beloved home often try to make up for all the years missed there by staying there at some point after they enter the spirit world. Thomas and Anna Whaley did not have much time at all in their dream home. Circumstances, bad luck and painful losses caused them to spend more time in San Francisco and Newtown, San Diego. Restoration of the cherished home or place can act as an environmental trigger and draw spirits back into this world to once again enjoy their favorite structure in this world. After Francis restored the family home, Anna, George, and Lillian all came to live with him while still alive. Spirits Violet and Yankee Jim were still there. Perhaps Thomas Whaley and his little son, Thomas, both in spirit form, also came back then to stay with their family, and never left. When Mother Anna died, she stayed on to be with husband Thomas and daughter Violet, and little Thomas as well. People who kill themselves out of terrible grief from a loss and deep mourning due to an unacceptable failure or profound disappointment, find that they have no relief in the spirit world and stay where they killed themselves in this world. They continue on in their emotional pain, stuck in their feelings and not able to move into the next realm, trying to work through their distress. People with mental/emotional issues sometimes have trouble passing on to the spirit realm. Second to youngest daughter, Violet, in an unbalanced emotional state, killed herself with her father's gun because the man she married turned out to be a con man with many aliases looking for cover, and left her only 2 weeks into the marriage. If a member of a family refuses to leave their favorite structure in this world, other past members of this family may also stay to take care of the member or members who still want to be in this world. Violet's mother, Anna Whaley, will not leave because her husband, Thomas, and 2 of their children, Violet and little 18-month-old Thomas, are still in this world. She still enjoys taking care of her family. When people are tied to the land in this world after they pass into the spirit world, they will simply move into any structure that is built on top of the land they find themselves grounded on for a variety of reasons, especially if it is where they died. Yankee Jim seems to have bonded with the land where he died. People who have had their way through intimidation, or conning others, or doing things against the law and taking risky chances along the way are restless when their actions catch up with them, causing their death one way or another. If they feel their death was unjust or unfair, then they are really unhappy and can't rest, or try to go on, wanting things to end differently, enjoying what they can as spirits in this world. Some even want justice. Yankee Jim thought that it was unfair that he was given a death penalty for such a minor offense while his 2 buddies got off with prison terms. Besides Yankee Jim, other family members of convicted men who died or were sent to prison because of a judge's decree after the Whaley House was built, may be haunting the old courtroom that was in the Whaley's former granary room/grocery store for a short while. A female entity still hangs around the courtroom, waiting for the verdict. She relives the awful news of the scheduled death or conviction to prison of her loved one, something she never got over and mourns still. Historic house museums that have original items that belong to former families or people who live there often have former owners of the artifacts or belongings coming to stay or visit. The old courtroom now has the original furniture along with Thomas Whaley's desk. Thomas and Anna enjoy some of their old possessions, as well as replicas of furniture and other things they had in their home. Thomas must have some peace to see that once more courtroom furniture is in his old commercial space. Annabelle and little Thomas still enjoy playing with the toys that are out and in other areas as well. Since 1960, when the Whaley House was opened as a house museum, numerous paranormal events have been observed by 20th and 21st century witnesses, seen, felt or heard primarily by staff, though other observers have been visitors and investigators. It seems that these spirits who stay here get to know who steadily works there and make their presences known in numerous ways, but not in a hostile manner. The experiences mainly take place in the daylight hours, as the house is closed during the evening to the living, with a few exceptions given to trustworthy investigators and celebrities with staff members present. The Whaley House is a well-documented, spirit-occupied structure and is considered by many to be the most haunted place in America. Besides the findings of many psychic mediums, a boatload of hard evidence has been caught by various paranormal investigators, some of whom are well known that back up the years of experiences and sightings of many people. The San Diego ghost hunters team up with the Whaley staff and conduct a paranormal investigation tour once a month as a fundraiser. The spirits willingly cooperate, knowing that this helps to raise funds for the upkeep of their forever home.